Good morning, government class. It is Tuesday, April 14th, and we're going to depart a little bit today from, I think just for today, but from what we've been talking about from the book with interest groups and how domestic policy is made. I have just sent Mr. Schmidt the notes for today, and your notes for today are going to be pretty short. It's primarily just a link to an article that came out in USA Today a couple of days ago. The title of which is Oversight Erased, Supreme Court Hijacked, Trump Turns the Presidency into a Dictatorship. I want you to read this article. It's longish, but it's not unreasonably long. I want you to read it and read it while you're thinking about the idea of federalism within our government. Federalism is just a fancy word for the division of power that we have between the national government, what we call the federal government, and the states. And that has come up quite a bit this week because of the nature of the quarantine and lockdown orders that are in place in most but not all states in the country. There has not been an overall nationwide order to shelter in place or safer at home or anything like that that has come from the federal government or from the office of the president. The states that are locked down, or even local municipalities, cities that are locked down, have only been locked down because those states' governors or because those cities' mayors have done so. Oklahoma is a good example of this. Governor Stitt, a couple of weeks ago, didn't exactly lock down the state, suggested that we're safer at home, suggested that we stay more at home. But it's been more the mayors of cities like Tulsa and Oklahoma City that have really locked down their local areas. Some of the bigger states on the coasts, like California and New York, have had much more stringent orders from their governors requiring that people stay home or quarantine or shelter in place when it's at all possible. And one of the things that's really come up in the last couple of days, and this was really kind of come to a head particularly yesterday, is whether or not the President of the United States has the constitutional right to override those decisions by governors and local mayors and tell the country, okay, it's time to go back to work. So, these shelter-in-place orders are no longer in effect. Everyone has to go back to work now. And President Trump has claimed a couple of times that he has that power, that authority given to him. But if you look at the Constitution, he really doesn't. And this is one of the abiding ideas behind federalism, is the idea that, okay, the national government, the federal government, has certain powers, and that the Constitution, for the most part, names these powers specifically. And under the 10th Amendment, though, for the most part, the other powers, the ones that haven't necessarily been talked about in the Constitution, because there's no way for a Constitution to cover everything, especially after 200 plus years. But if generally with federalism, if a power is not specifically given to a branch of the federal government, say the executive, where the president is, then that power is reserved to the states. And so what you have now is the states, such as New York and California. And it's worth noting that New York and California are both blue states. They're both Democratic voting states, primarily. And it may be that this is one reason that President Trump is trying to take those states' governors on in kind of this contest of who has the power and who doesn't have the power. But read the article today with that idea in mind, with the idea. President Trump came out yesterday in his press conference and essentially stated that the power of the president, especially during times of crisis, which is what we're in now, that the powers of the president are absolute. The powers of the president are not absolute. We do not have a king. We have a president. But with that statement from the president in mind that just came out yesterday, read this article in USA Today. We're going to discuss it on Friday, and hope everyone's well. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.